Well, welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So I had quite a few requests in the comments and from the team to do a video on some of my favorite CGC 9.8 comics around $100 to invest in. Seems like, kind of a popular price point, and there's a lot of comics in there that have a lot of potential, I would say. So certainly I think it would be an interesting video to do, and as you can tell from the title, I started my list and it quickly kind of exploded into, quite a few key issues here. So what I'll do is I'm not going to show sort of the census information or the census analysis that we would normally do on these channels, just kind of try to go through them a little bit quicker. And the reason for that, them being books around $100 in the CGC 9.8, they're not going to be extremely rare on the census. There's not going to be too much to talk about on the census because if they were extremely rare on the census, they would be a lot more than $100. So we'll skip the census analysis and try to get through them a little bit quicker. One thing to mention too, I wouldn't overly recommend this sort of type of book as to be a huge part of your sort of portfolio of investment grade CGC 9.8 books. I'd probably keep these type of books at maybe 25% of the type of books that you're buying. Whereas 75% of them should be books over $250 that are really like iconic first appearances. And we talk about a lot of those books all the time on the channel here. So this video will be a little bit more about those still very cool key issues that you can grab in the CGC 9.8 for about $100. But yeah, keep that in mind. You don't. I think a lot of times it really is worth it more to save up and buy those sort of more iconic first appearances for the most part. But certainly you can pick and choose out of this list for maybe some issues that are nostalgic to you, and those are always the best $100 issues to buy because you get a very big pride of ownership out of buying sort of these type of issues that are nostalgic to you from when you were a kid. So yeah, you know what? Let's get right into the list because there is 21. Okay, no, that's not the first one. Yeah. First one. Kind of chose this first because I think it's one of my top picks out of the whole list here. It's a Batman 436, a comic book that kind of goes under the radar. I think it's the first appearance of Tim Drake, so the first appearance of the third Robin, Tim Drake. I just think, certainly Tim Drake hasn't been in a movie yet, and so there's potential for the character to sort of gain more promotion, and then this issue would do a lot better in those sort of promotion-filled environments for sure. George Perez cover, I think it's a bit of certainly an underfollowed cover of this era for sure. But you get an iconic first appearance. This book in the CBCS 9.8, if you notice here, I picked up for $99.99. And I've seen CGC 9.8s in this book go for sort of in the high $80 range, kind of like $87 or something like that in an auction. Buy it now around this book getting over $100, but still, I would say fair market value right around $100 for the first appearance of Tim Drake in comics. And yeah, a lot of potential if, Tim Drake ever was in a movie or something like that. But, not even that. I think just a really cool George Perez cover. Year 3, Part 1. And you get a really iconic first appearance in there. The third Robin. Yeah, a lot. Just, whenever you can get. Oh, yeah, I wanted to mention, too, because I did say not really about the census too much, this list. But Batman 436 looks pretty good on the census. There's only, I think there's just over 100 of them, and the CGC 9.8 ratio is under 20%. So this is one of the better ones on the census out of this whole list too, and it's still about $100. So I think a really good book. Second on the list, Wolverine number 8. And this book really, in auctions and stuff, goes for about $120, $130. And, kind of a really good affordable alternative for Hulk and Wolverine fans out there. Certainly like Hulk 181, the first appearance of Wolverine where they first fought is the kind of main key issue that you want if you're a big Hulk and Wolverine fan, but it's really expensive. So Incredible Hulk 340 and Wolverine number 8 for me is a really cool kind of Joe Fix-It Hulk and Wolverine cover. I think is probably third in line or maybe like number 1 for an affordable alternative to Hulk 181 and Incredible Hulk 340. Because yeah, like I said, about $120. Classic cover that's nostalgic to me. I have one of these, but I've tried to pick up two. Like I've tried to pick up some others in the past. For Wolverine 8, because I'd like to have two of them. I think over time, if you grab that like 120, I could see this book going for over 200 in like 10 years or something as it becomes just more and more classic. So next book I do not have in either a Raw or a CGC 9.8, but it's one I've been hunting, and I've noticed the completed listings kind of around like a 120, 130, but it's Fantastic Four number 243. Classic John Byrne sort of story cover and art on this book, and classic Galactus cover. I think this is the best cover of this era of Fantastic Four books. I'm a big John Byrne fan, so I'm looking to buy this book. This is kind of one I've recently sort of figured out that I really want, and I want to buy this book around 120 bucks, hopefully. Yeah, Fantastic Four 243, classic John Byrne Galactus cover. Yeah, no real kind of first appearances in there or anything like that, but still, I think a classic cover that will become more classic as time goes on, and just one that I personally really like. And I think being around 100 bucks, I'd recommend it for sure. Next book is one we talked about quite a bit on the channel, a Spawn Batman. And I had spoke to team member Brett, who's kind of we're in contact quite a bit about, he's actively buying CGC 9.8 books. He grabbed one of these, I think it was for like 86 bucks or 85 bucks. Spawn Batman in an auction, and I've always mentioned like that would be a really good price to kind of aim for if you were really patient on this book. I paid for my newest one, I paid 110 bucks, and I think my first one was like 120-ish. So I sort of paid kind of maybe the higher portion of fair market value. So around 100 bucks, Spawn Batman. I think one of the things that I really wish happened in comic book history was that Todd McFarlane did a Batman run. Because, Jim Lee did his from kind of like 608 to, like 620 or something like that. And I really wish Todd McFarlane had a nice run in Batman comics, because he did a couple covers, and he had maybe an issue or two there. And there's another one we'll go over later, but the interiors of this book are awesome. McFarlane Batman interiors, so awesome. A couple pinups pages in that book where Batman's just hanging out on kind of a rooftop similar to Spawn with his cape everywhere. So, love Spawn Batman. I have two, and that's one of the one of my more nostalgic books, I would say, for books around 100. I wouldn't say it's like the best investment grade book or anything. Not a first appearance. So, okay. Speaking of investment grade books here, I think this one's a pretty good one to go after. Lots of potential here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51. This is the first appearance of Jennika. She was kind of introduced as a minor character in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51. Eventually in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95, Jennika becomes a Ninja Turtle in that issue. So she's the first female Ninja Turtle, kind of with the yellow colors and the yellow bandana. So her first overall appearance is this book. I picked up one for, it was like 77 bucks, and then I picked up another one for $100 even. So I've, since been hearing whispers of, some deals for this book going quite a lot higher, kind of in the 120, 130 range now. There's not a lot of them on the census, so I think this is one I've mentioned in videos in the past. It's kind of just one you want to buy now. Minor kind of first appearance of Jennika, but, Jennika's already getting her kind of first series, standalone series. Jennika number 1 coming out. So I think there's just a lot of potential, and this book around 100 bucks, maybe it's a little creeping up a little over 100. You might have to pay up for it at this point, but one I still wanted to mention on the list because, out of modern books, it's probably one of my go-to modern books to get in the CGC 9.8 still that I think has a lot of potential. Related to that book is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95. We touched on it. Jennika becomes a Ninja Turtle in this issue. The cover A, this is cover A, and cover B, there's about like 200 and something of them on the census already in the CGC 9.8 of cover A, cover B. So you could be pretty patient on this one and probably get it for under 90 bucks, I think, at this point. Maybe they're heating up with the Jennika movie, or the Jennika mini-series coming out. Maybe they're heating up a bit, so maybe you do. I paid $95 for one. I got another one, too, that I probably was the first one on eBay, and I kind of mentioned that I somewhat regret buying the other one because I paid like $129.99, which I think is an overpay. You know, maybe they'll get to that around that point again because they might get hot with this miniseries, but for that book, yeah, under 100 hopefully. Yeah, one I got for 95, and I think in an auction you might even be able to get it cheaper if you're really patient on those. But yeah, those two issues with the first appearance of Jennika, the new first female Ninja Turtle, I think you just kind of want to be early on those. I think it'll pay to be early. Next one, Avengers 684 in the CGC 9.8. About kicking around $100, maybe a little bit over 100 if you kind of wanted it now. But this is the when Hulk gets his immortal powers. So when Hulk becomes immortal, and certainly a cover that's kind of simple, but I really like. Over time, I really like it. A Mark Brooks cover with you know, the Hulk immortal eyes, fire burning, close up. Avengers 684 when Hulk gets his immortal powers the first time, and yeah, with how great Immortal Hulk has done, I just think it's really, you want to get the first appearance, and it's about $100, so definitely worthy of making it on the list here. Okay, next book, one I don't have. I think it's kind of, there's two books to choose from when you're sort of looking at books for this hero, but next book's Eternal Warrior #4. So the first cameo appearance of Bloodshot. And this book's kind of hot right now, possibly, but I did see an auction go, and it ended at 130-ish, it was. So still, you know, kind of, I feel like after this movie is out of theater and things calm down, this will be about a $100 book. So maybe right now it's like 130, 140. If you want it now, maybe even over 150 because of the movie. But Eternal Warrior #4 is my pick out of sort of, this is the first cameo of Bloodshot, and then you have Rise Zero, the first appearance of Bloodshot. I just like this cover better, so yeah, definitely want to check out if you're into Bloodshot. And yeah, if you want it right now, maybe in an auction it's 120, 130. Be patient. 6 months after this movie, probably get it for 100. Next book, one I got in the raw copy, and I think it's a cool book to grab for under $100, is Uncanny X-Men #256. Get a really cool Jim Lee cover. Yeah, this is a really nice copy too in the newsstand. Yeah, a 9.8 candidate, to be honest. This could be one I could send in if I ever wanted to do a CGC send-in. This is the first appearance of new Psylocke. Yeah, cool Jim Lee cover with the Mandarin on the front. Yeah, I really like this cover, and this is kind of my affordable key issue pick out of this era of X-Men. We'll talk about another one in the next book here, but yeah, in auctions, I saw this go for, I think it was like upper 70s into the 80s. So maybe if you're really lucky, maybe you get it for like $77 in an auction. And this would be in the direct edition. This one's the newsstand edition. This could go for a bit more, maybe in the 9.8. But still, under 100 for a direct, I've seen many go in auctions for, and I think this is kind of for under $100, kind of a pick of the range out of this era of Uncanny X-Men. Really love that Jim Lee cover. Next book is Uncanny X-Men 244, first appearance of Jubilee. This is just more of like a no-brainer. I think Jubilee is a really cool character, and there's a lot of these printed. There's a lot of 9.8s out there, but again, sort of around $100. That's sort of what you deal with in a lot of these books, because if they were more rare on the census, they would be a lot more money for the most part. But Uncanny X-Men 244, first Jubilee, you get a iconic first appearance in there. I think if you're patient in an auction, you're kind of looking at 120, 130. You know, buy it nows do get over 150, which I didn't really want to go above on this list, but if you're patient, you get that closer to 125, I would say. So, yeah, good first appearance. That's still somewhat cheap. You could look at First Bishops too in this era. I think is another decent key out of this era of Uncanny X-Men, and you get a first appearance. So, next book. Okay, I want to bring. It's kind of two books, but I'll bring out the one I have in the 9.8 here. I'll have to go with this one. But dealing with the first appearance of Damien. So this is Batman 666. The first time Damien becomes Batman, and the first appearance of Professor Pig. Yeah, one of them I paid $100 for, and the other one I paid $120 for. In an auction, similar to kind of Spawn Batman, I think you might probably get this for like $88, $89 if you get lucky in an auction. But I just kind of really wanted it, and not really willing to wait around for another 10 or 20 bucks to save. So that is Batman 666. This is Batman 655, and yeah, I got 2 raw copies. Really nice ones too, actually. These are 9.8s, possibly. I was looking at them before I came on camera, and they look super solid. So 2 Batman 655s here. This is the first cameo appearance of Damien Wayne. Because it's kind of a way more classic cover than the first full appearance, it's become the kind of one to get. And there's a more rare variant of this book too. This is an Andy Kubert cover. The rarer variant is an Adam Kubert cover. And that one goes for quite a lot more in the CGC 9.8. But this book in the CGC 9.8, kind of similar to Batman 666, like 110, 120, if you want it now, is a decent deal. And if you really wait to be patient and wait for an auction on that, you might be able to get it for like 90 bucks-ish. But yeah, around 100 bucks, you know, first appearance of Damien Wayne. No kind of big movies with Damien yet. So, you know, that's kind of a potential for the future. And very cool issues, so why not? Yeah, speaking of very cool Batman issues, Batman 404. Yeah, and I grabbed my latest one. It was 109.70 something in an auction for Batman 404 CGC 9.8. And since then, I've had someone on the team show me an auction that the price went over 150 for this book, and it's because of all these jitters, or you know, the things you're hearing with the Batman movie, where Robert Pattinson's like constructing his own first Batman suit in the movie, like hand making it kind of without the sort of resources of Wayne Enterprises, is what I read. So it's, you know, more and more becoming that, you know, this is basically like the first year of Batman, or like, you know, Robert Pattinson's a young Batman too. So I think this book's heating up, but hopefully in an auction you can still get it close to 100. And I think it's a classic Batman book. I got 2 of them. You know, I'm kind of even kicking myself for, in the last 2 or 3 years, for just not buying like 3 or 4 of these, to be honest. Because for around 100 bucks, I think for me this is one of the best books to get. Just a classic cover that I'm really nostalgic for too. So maybe I'm a bit biased, but Origin of Batman. That's the first modern Catwoman too. So yeah, really, really cool book. And yeah, kind of sticking with really cool Batman books for around 100 bucks. Had to include this on the list when I thought of it. Batman 368. So this is when Jason Todd officially becomes Robin. And yeah, this is a book, it's, you know, buy it nows are going to be over 150 for the most part. But I've seen auctions for this book go for like, I think even one I saw there was like 60 or 70 bucks for this book in an auction. So, you know, if you are really patient on this, I think you'll probably see a buy it now pop up for like maybe 110 from someone who really wants to get rid of it. But even in auction, I think you maybe even get this for like under 100 if you're super lucky. But, you know, besides that price, I think this is one worth paying up for kind of 120, 130. It's in that sort of Batman run that I talk about from times, Batman 357 to Batman 401, I think it is, where the print is really low for Batman books, certainly compared to like Marvel books of the era. So this is within that run, and it's the first time Jason Todd officially becomes Robin. Kind of got a cool cover. And like, I'm on record as kind of saying I like Batman 366 better, but it's a little more expensive. Like Batman 366, maybe the best deal you could get is like 160, 170 maybe for that book. So a little bit above the price range here, and a lot of those will go for about 200. So Batman 368, though, closer to 100, and I think a pretty cool book to get for that price. Next one, another Batman book, sticking with a couple Batmans. Batman 570. This is the first appearance of Harley Quinn in Batman comics, in the Batman run. Second appearance in DC continuity, I guess you could call it. Yeah, Batman 570. And this book, in an auction, about 100 bucks. Kind of, you know, I've seen them go over 100, 110 in an auction. I've seen them go under, it's kind of 90 in an auction. So that's what you're looking at if you'd be really patient on this. And this is a book that, when Harley Quinn came out in Suicide Squad, these were on the internet for like $250, $300, like buy it nows. And, probably some of them actually sold during that time, to be honest. But I think now they've completely cooled down, and occasionally you see those for around $100 go. And yeah, I think that's a really good book to grab for about that price. in the same sort of ilk as that book, Detective Comics 737. First appearance of Harley Quinn in Detective Comics, and the third appearance of her in the DC continuity. And a cooler cover on this one too, to be honest. And I think she's kind of like choking Huntress here. Yeah, this is kind of in auctions. I saw really sweet prices on this too, even in the 60s, I believe, like $68 in an auction. This went for, and I honestly like this cover a lot better than Batman 570. So maybe if you wanted to pick both, this might be kind of the pick out of, or if you had to pick one out of both, I would probably pick that one over Batman 570. Although Batman 570 seems to be kind of the more major key, and it's I guess the second appearance of Harley Quinn. So next book is, you know what, it's a book I have in the raw and I completely forgot to bring it out. I'm just really realizing that now. But it's Batman #1 from the New 52 series. I just think this is a really good book where I see it in auctions and it goes for like $74, $78. So you're kind of in that whole $70 range depending on kind of how lucky you get in the auction or whatever it might be. For a book that has a cult following, Batman #1 in the New 52 era, the Schneider and Scott Schneider, Greg Capullo Batman run. That kind of came out during when Dark Knight first came out. So a lot of people were really into Batman during that time. And there's a lot of people that are really nostalgic for this book basically. And I know there's like more rare other prints of this book that are probably more expensive in the CGC 9.8. But this book I've seen go for like, yeah, in that $70 range. And I thought that was a really good buy, sort of, or, especially if you like really liked this when it first came out. And I was a pretty big fan of it for like not being into the hobby that much during back then, but I still really liked a lot of that run of, and I've since bought a lot of Batman New 52. When I first got back into the hobby, I really, pretty much I have like number 0 to 40. I bought it all from one person on eBay, all in really good shape in the raw. Next one is sticking with the Batman theme. I think I brought it. Oh yeah, I got it. It's a Detective 576. This is the first Todd McFarlane Batman book, and yeah, this book I paid, I think it was like $122 or $123 American. So, over $100 you're gonna end up paying for this one. Even that's a pretty good price for this one, I think. Maybe if you're really lucky in an auction, you get it closer to 100, but I don't think you're gonna get this under 100. Yeah, first McFarlane Batman got a lot of potential. It's not as striking of a cover as Batman 423, so that's why it's just not. It's not as rare on the census either. The CGC 9.8 ratio isn't as good. So Batman 423 is definitely the pick, but that's, $400 basically in the CGC 9.8. This one, a great one that's still, kicking around that $100. And this is before Batman 423 too. So it's kind of like the first Todd McFarlane Batman art as far as I know. And they don't sort of put it on the label here, but I know they do that for Amazing Spider-Man 298. It's like first Todd McFarlane Spider-Man art, but they don't do it on this label, unfortunately. Okay, what's the next one here? All right, yeah, some good ones here coming up. This one is probably one of my top recommendations. I know, like Batman 436, I said, was one of my top recommendations too. The first one I did. Wolverine 88. First time Deadpool and Wolverine fight in comics. And a great cover. Adam Kubert cover. Amazing cover. I think just got a real good chance for this cover to just keep getting cooler and cooler and more people lusting after it over time. This is one that's in a bit of a sweet spot, I think, and it's one of my top recommendations because of that. There's less than 100 of them in the CGC 9.8 on the census, which is, you like to see that, less than 100. And one of these books I bought for $99.99, and another one I purchased in an auction in Canada, and it was like $60 Canadian. So I literally got it was like 40 something dollars American, and it was this one too in the CGC 9.8 with the deluxe edition. It says here, because the deluxe editions are the ones the non-deluxe editions were way less printed, and that's near 400 in the CGC 9.8, I believe 300 to 400. I've heard them go for. I think now I'm getting some kind of feedback from the team where some of these are going for like 120. So it's kind of creeping up there to where maybe you might not be able to get it under 100 unless you're like just really, really patient. So, you know, you could be really, really patient and still grab it in an auction for under 100, but yeah, this has got a chance to heat up too with, you know, X-Men and Deadpool coming back to the MCU under the Disney kind of production. So, yeah, I mean, certainly if Wolverine and Deadpool fight it out on camera, I mean, there's no way that book's going to be around $100. It's going to be well over 200. In the same sort of ilk as that comic too, another great one of my faves, underfollowed faves, Wolverine number 155, an Incredible Hulk 340 cover homage, basically. Kind of done in a different way. It's not an exact homage, but this is Rob Liefeld art too, which, you know, it's always nice when, obviously, Deadpool is the major point of this Wolverine issue, so to have, like, Rob Liefeld, who's the creator of Deadpool, who did his art in his first appearance, to kind of do this cover, I think is cool. And yeah, to homage his buddy McFarlane with Incredible Hulk 340, with the Hulk reflection in Wolverine's claws. This one having Wolverine's reflection in Deadpool's claws, so it's kind of like a passing of the torch issue. And this is one where, in an auction, you could still find this for like $55. Like, I've seen some really juicy prices for this book. So yeah, certainly under 100, I think still for that one in CGC 9.8. And yeah, if you really like Deadpool and Wolverine, those two last issues are just, you know, you really can't go wrong. Certainly if you're a Wolverine fan, can't really go wrong with this next one too. Marvel Comics presents number 72. And this is the origin of Wolverine, an early 90s book. A lot of these printed. This book will go for pretty much $100. I've seen an auction literally go for like $99, and I saw one go for like $102. So it's a very, like, pretty much about $100 in an auction is a good price for this book. In Buy It Nows, again, you'll see like $150-ish. In a lot of Buy It Nows, $140, $150 that don't really sell too fast. But Marvel Comics presents 72, Origin of Wolverine for $100, Origin of Wolverine. I mean, that's pretty hard to beat. I'm not the biggest fan of this cover. I will say, out of this Marvel Comics presents Weapon X saga, there's about 10 or 15 issues. And there's a couple issues in there in the CGC 9.8 that if you could pick up for around $100, I think that's just as good of a buy as the sort of Origin one. Because I think there's better covers in there. And so just something to think about if... for Marvel Comics Presents, if you didn't really like the cover on Marvel Comics Presents 72. Because that's sort of what I'm in the situation of. I almost bought one of these, but I got outbid in like the last second. But I don't have one in the CGC 9.8 yet. But I'm like more intrigued by the other Weapon X covers throughout the saga. I actually kind of want, I think it's 79. Weapon X 70, or Marvel Comics Presents number 79. But don't quote me exactly on that, I kind of forget. But I like a couple other covers more than 72, and I'd almost want to have one of those in the 9.8 rather than 72, to be honest. Okay, last book here is a modern book that I don't have, and I think this is one where you can kind of step in right now and buy it, because I saw this book up for a very long time kind of get really hot, and there were, basically I saw many go for like around 150, I would say. But it's an all-new Wolverine number 2, first Honey Badger. So a modern key issue, there's a lot of these on the census. It's not, I know this is comic books to invest in around $100, but, I wouldn't really call this like an investment grade book. And you could say that for a lot of these on the list, but, it's $100. So you are kind of, buying the potential rather than it being like a 100% investment grade book that's going to like steadily increase. So anyways, though, all new Wolverine number 2. After seeing, it heating up a lot, and, I think what happened was anything Wolverine related really just blew up with Hulk 181, first appearance of Wolverine, how that really just took off, and then NYX number 3 and this book, all new Wolverine number 2, really got hot as well. This book coming out a little bit later, because I think it only came out in 2017, a couple years ago. But it was really hot, and I think in an auction, I saw one of these go for, it was like $91. And, the first print, all new Wolverine number 2, first Honey Badger. For $91, I think that's kind of like, you can pretty much, like, if you like Honey Badger and, you like the girl Wolverine, you could really just step in here and grab this book, I think. Yeah, it's kind of one of those modern books that was really, really hot. It has cooled off now. Now you can go in. It kind of reminds me of, I think it's Avenging Spider-Man number 9, that first Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers one. That got really, really hot. Now that's kind of cooling off too, to where you could probably, if you like Captain Marvel, you could probably get into that one too. So, but all new Wolverine #2, first Honey Badger, last book on the list. All right, got through 21 of them. Yeah, hopefully it went a little bit. I wanted to go a little bit faster and kind of skip the census analysis and just focus more on price because, again, census not as important for these sort of newer books around $100. And again, they would be about $300 or $400 most of these books if they were more rare on the census. So, but nonetheless, I think I would. I'm gonna put the list in the description below, actually, of all these books, so you can certainly check out the list. I think some top picks is the first one I went over, Batman 436. Wolverine #88 is one that sticks out too, where there's less than 100 on the census. It's still about $100. First Deadpool Wolverine battle. And what was the other one that really... Oh yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ones, the Jennika first appearance. I think, there's always that potential, with how NYX #3 has just blown up, there's always that potential that these, new female superheroes, if they really, really catch on, that there's, that big potential to possibly happen. So, yeah, those would be my other two topics. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #51 or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #95. In the first prints are still kind of around 100, hopefully not too much over 100 now with Jennika getting a little bit hotter with her limited series. But yeah, I think those would be my top picks. Batman 436, Wolverine #88, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51 and 95. Yeah, but Wolverine #8 too. I mean, such a classic book for around $100, I think. So there's a lot to kind of get your head around. A lot of ideas in the list too, and what I was kind of aiming for, to kind of go over it a little quicker and just give you more ideas rather than a big census analysis for each key. If you haven't already, I'd invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 and hit the bell to get all their latest notifications. Add me on Instagram. I got all the links in the description below for all that. But yeah, so you know what? This $100, around $100 CGC 9.8 list kind of exploded pretty quick. And I know there's a lot of other books out there. Definitely share them in the comments below if there's a book or a couple books that you think I didn't really go over, because there was a lot that I mean, this it could have been 30, to be honest. There was a couple I crossed off the list, to be honest. So, alrighty, thanks so much for watching today. Hopefully you got some ideas. And yeah, again, that original point, I think if you're serious about investing in CGC 9.8 books, these type of books, you don't want them to be too large of your portfolio. I would keep them around 25%, buy the ones that you really like, around 25% of your portfolio, but 75% of your, comic book investing portfolio in CGC 9.8s, if you're really serious about it, I think should be towards, all the iconic first appearances and books that are pretty much over, let's say, $250, $300 and over. All those first appearances that you can get over that in CGC 9.8 should be 75% of your portfolio. Then the rest, kind of these, $100 books that have some potential, right? Okay, I'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate all the support, all the comments, and all the conversations I'm having on Instagram and everything too. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.